you have Poland, a state of almost 40 million people, and the capital city has officially, of course there is probably many more that live in Warsaw but have chosen for some reason to not have their official residency here. 1.7, 1.8 million people. London, of course, is this metropolis that houses a much larger percentage of the British population than Warsaw houses of the Polish. So there is slightly more of this centralization, you could say, in the UK, where the capital city plays a much more important role than Warsaw does.
You're absolutely right. London certainly is the biggest. Then you have Birmingham, and then the whole West Midlands conurbation, all the towns dotted around Birmingham. Then you have, I think Sheffield is next, followed by Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, Newcastle.
Yeah.
And all of those are as a result of industrialization, and each became very specialized in.
And many of them are around 1 million or so, and then London, of course...
8 million, 8, 9, I mean, who knows? 8 or 9 million, seems to get bigger all the time.
Growing by the year.
Growing. And of course, the interesting thing about London is most of what we call London is technically the city of Westminster, because the city of London, people call about the city, the financial district as it mainly is of course the old Roman city of London. And there is a border which on Fleet Street between Temple Bar, funny enough, between the city of Westminster and the city of London.
Yes.
And the city of London still retained some of the old civic administrative structures which were done away with by Ted Heath in the 1970s.
It's a very interesting construction. In some way, it could be compared to the Vatican City in Rome, that it has its quite separate characteristics and rights and traditions. I believe, for example, now I forgot what it's called, but the old city hall, so to say, in
the Guildhall.
The Guildhall.
The Guildhall,
yes. That, for example, the British monarch was not allowed to set foot in the Guildhall, apart from if they were given outright permission by the City of London, and it's a very democratic council in which it wasn't just private people but also companies that...
yeah, well, the livery companies, of course, which still exist, which are really a survival of the old medieval guilds. And yes, and then we have the Lord Mayor of London, as opposed to the Mayor of London. Which is a more modern construct, which of course is a chap called Khan these days, elected. Whereas the Lord Mayor of London, which is just of the so-called square mile, is elected by a small number, by the aldermen of the City of London, who are senior councillors. And they are themselves elected by a ward of electors. I mean, it's quite funny because in most parts of the city now, these electors don't live there. They're people who happen to be tenants or accountants, lawyers, etc., who actually happen to be, their offices happen to be in these geographical areas.
Yes.
But it is quite an interesting medieval, I'm all for this sort of tradition, and it has its own separate police force, the City of London Police Force. But most of what we think of London is, of course, Westminster.
Yes.
And then, of course, over the time, London, or Greater London, has expanded to bring in these other villages.
Also, when we look at London, you have the City of London, which has these ancient traditions, and it was a commercial center from the early outset. Even in the 12th, 13th century, it was a bustling commercial center and the commercial center of England, even though it didn't have the vast population yet, but it would grow over the centuries. But the further down or rather the longer history went on for, and the more the British Empire started expanding with time, it really became a city on par with what Rome had been back in its day, or Baghdad in the 13th century before the Mongol invasion.
Adam, sorry, I'm just going to have to stop you there as usual. The clock has defeated us, but we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. Until then, thank you for watching.